Thank you so much, Rick, for that very generous introduction, though as someone once said, don't be humble, you're not that great. And a warm welcome to everyone this evening. It is really a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I also want to offer my thanks to the selection committee for the honor of being asked to participate tonight, and to my many friends from the Rockefeller, Museum of Natural History, and Barnard communities who are sprinkled throughout the room, and it's very nice to have all of you here. It is such a pleasure to be here at an institution that I have long admired and to participate in this important event celebrating two distinguished women scientists and their achievements in biomedical research, Dr. Lily Jan and Dr. Eve Marder, to whom I offer my warm congratulations. Well done. And how could I not be inspired by the genesis of this award, which was established by the late and renowned Dr. Paul Greengard, as Rick has already shared with you, and his wife, the internationally acclaimed sculptor Ursula von Ruydingsvard, who I was so pleased to meet tonight as well, and the background of contributing his Nobel earnings and naming the award for his mother, who died when he was during childbirth with him. I have rarely seen a more touching constellation of circumstances anywhere. I've had the great pleasure and good fortune of spending the last 4+ decades representing and advancing two institutions that are near and dear to my heart, and whose connections to the work of this institution and tonight's awardees is noteworthy. First, at Barnard, for the advancement of women generally, with a particular focus and strong record on producing women scientists and doctors, and then at the American Museum of Natural History, which is itself an institution of scientific research, and I'm pleased to say is making great strides on behalf of women scientists, including having a woman, Dr. Cheryl Hayashi, who I am delighted is here tonight, who not only is a curator, but also the Leon Hess Director of Comparative Biology Research at the museum, as well as a Senior Vice President and the Provost of Science. And I'm also pleased that we have made, of the last 10 curatorial scientific appointments at the museum for tenure or tenure-track positions, 7 have been outstanding women. So thank you. So I know a thing or two about the pace, dare I say, too often slow pace, of women's progress in science. Some of you may recall the famous cartoon that showed the descent of man as a series of footprints, beginning with Australopithecus and ending with a high heel. In Museum of Natural History terms, we think of this as evolution. Slow but steady, unless there is an extinction event, but we won't go there tonight. I should also note that I am far more comfortable talking about these institutions and their important missions than I am about myself. Yet it is the latter that I have been asked to discuss tonight, so I shall try to oblige. By way of confession, mine has been an unexpected, unpredictable, and nonlinear career path, which began, as Rick indicated, with practicing law at Milbank, where I'm happy to note I had the very great pleasure of working on a number of matters for Rockefeller University. So in some sense, this is a return to my earliest professional days. Then things went in a very different direction, launching what my two now grown daughters have long characterized as my not a career. As in, although the museum is a scientific institution, I am not a scientist. And while Barnard is an academic institution, I am not an academic. So I am Exhibit A of the fact that life and careers, as I regularly advised Barnard students, can and often do proceed in unanticipated even unimaginable directions. The trick is to be open and willing to chart new paths and to go through doors of opportunity when they are open to you, which sounds straightforward enough, but actually can be daunting, especially if, as was often the case for me, you haven't actually been traditionally or fully trained or prepared for the role that you are taking on. And when you are keenly aware that by breaking boundaries as a woman and being the first to assume a particular leadership position, you are at once helping to push the doors ajar for generations of women to follow, but also carry the burden of doing well on their behalf. Still, notwithstanding my not a professional foundation, I did have important personal connections to both of the institutions I was privileged to lead and strong alignment with their missions. At Barnard, I was not only a graduate of the college, but one of legions of alumni who would say that in many ways, Barnard made me who I am today. And I also was deeply committed to the intellectual and personal development of young women and the advancement of their opportunities. And at the museum, I was one of millions who came as a child and marveled at its wonders. And beyond that, while not a scientist, I have long been a naturalist, blissfully collecting shells, which I still do, rocks and butterflies, and developing an early passion for the environment and natural world, as well as for diverse human cultures. And with the benefit of my legal training, I greatly enjoy making the case on behalf of these important, iconic, and both global and utterly New York institutions. While at Barnard, that meant making the case not only for the advancement of women, but demonstrating why the advancement of women isn't just for their benefit, but for the benefit of society at large, to have access to the fullest range and extent of talent possible, meaning both men and women, and that it is also, importantly, better for families and children, as the mother's level of education has long been shown to be important to the health and well-being of children. And more recently, making the case for and leveraging the museum's vast scientific and educational capacity to enhance the public understanding of science, while also opening doors for women and others not traditionally engaged in the scientific arena. And because we are here tonight at Rockefeller, I want to pause on the public understanding and appreciation of science. Because we live in a time of unprecedented knowledge about what it means to be human, about the interdependence of natural systems and species, and, as tonight's honorees brilliantly demonstrate, the mysteries of molecules, genomes, proteins, and neurons, and also a bit farther afield of the oceans and the universe beyond, a time of emerging new frontiers, fresh discoveries in biology, medicine, and technology, with thrilling new fields, cross-disciplinary collaboration, new ways of working, exploring, studying, and discovering. Yet, disturbingly and of urgent concern, there is also a growing resistance to and politicization of science, of expertise, of raw evidence and data, of the scientific process, of truth itself. What an odd and deeply troubling juxtaposition when scientific advancements have long improved human health and the quality of life, as it continues to do so palpably now in combating the pandemic and in so many other areas, including those pursued by Dr. Greengard himself, such as Alzheimer's disease, and of course in other areas, such as the moonshot effort to cure cancer and those to mitigate climate change and species and habitat loss. Science has also driven America's economic and global leadership, and it is absolutely the case that science underpins many of the most important topics of our time and likely of any time, as new discoveries and challenges constantly emerge. Think AI, with all of its truly extraordinary potential and promise, but also daunting threats and issues of ethical concern. Still, put simply, science offers many of the most promising directions for addressing society's most pressing needs. So, educating the public, not only about science itself, but about why people should trust it, and about the vital nexus between science and society, is more urgent than ever. As Rick just alluded to, think science for the benefit of humanity. In a way, scientists, like those we honor tonight, are a kind of intellectual first responder, if you will, seeking answers where others often don't know to look, finding and testing clues, and then, yes, offering solutions and advising the public about them. What could be more noble, more civic-minded, more important? Which is why I feel so fortunate to have been able to advance these very pursuits of science and education and the advancement of women, including women scientists, and why I am so honored to participate in this event at this exceptional university, recognizing two brilliant women scientists. Thank you.